What's up, creepers and geekers? Chris, the Atari Creep. How's everyone doing today? Got something a little bit different for you. Just a small project I thought I'd document on camera. If you remember, not too long ago, I was hunting for one of these, and a buddy of mine in California, Mr. Calico Joe, was able to find one and on sale. So he picked it up for me, I sent him the money, and he shipped it over to me. But he also sent along that cool guy and that wicked rad guy. But they don't have their capes. So I figured, you know what? Going toy polloi style. Why not? Let's fabricate a couple temporary capes for these guys and see if we can't get them to look a little bit better in the display. So what we're going to be working with here are a set of action figures. I only have the two for right now that Remco came out with in the early 80s. I believe actually they came out in 79, but I could be wrong on that. But they're part of what they call their Mini Monsters line. They're basically the Universal Monsters. Came with, you could get Dracula, the Phantom, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein's monster, and the Mummy, I believe. I'll put a picture up of the entire set. Plus, there was a really cool play set that I also had as a kid. But regardless, Calico Joe was nice enough to send these along, and they're in really great shape, considering, you know. But one thing that they're missing are their capes. So I figured, what the hell? Let's make some temporary capes. And I mean, I suppose if they come out looking good enough, I could just leave them on there until I can find actual replacement capes that are accurate. So let me get everything together and show you what we got going on anyway. Alright guys, so this is where we're going to start. First thing I do is I try to search for a pattern or a template for these actual action figures capes. Couldn't find one. So I did find a picture of, I believe it's supposed to be Dracula's cape because it's right on the inside. And just printed out for a visual representation, you know, reference. And then I went over to toypolloi.com, where he has a bunch of these templates for, you know, capes for other action figures. This one's for, I believe, both Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and maybe a few others. But regardless, I got that to start with because it is the same scale. These figures are the same scale as the vintage Star Wars 3 3/4, with just the 5 points of articulation, blah, blah, blah. But obviously the shape was a little different. So what I did is I traced over this with a blank piece of paper and slowly worked my way to this. And I've tested this one out on a couple of the figures, and it seems to work out well. Now, generally when you're making these, most people have been buying those cheap vinyl inflatable toys. But seeing as it's November, there are no beach toys at the Dollar Tree. That's the only place I went anyway. I wasn't going to go all over town looking for this damn thing. But what I did find at the Dollar Tree, in the toy section, was this thing. It's a part of a costume for a knight. You know, you just wear it over like a poncho. And it does have both red and black. Now, I'm going to need red and black for Dracula's cape, all black for the Phantom's cape. But I saw this, and it even has the texture that I believe the original capes did have. At least in pictures it appears so. When I had these as a kid, I don't believe I had the capes either. They were hand-me-down toys. So, long story short, I think this is going to work out pretty well. Now, you see, there is white on the inside, so what I'm probably going to have to do is fold over the material onto itself, use a little bit of tacky glue to get it together, and then just put the template on it and cut them out and see where we go from there. Alright, so I got my pieces cut, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a real liberal coat of tacky glue here. Making sure I don't miss any spots, especially around the edges here. And I'll even put some right at the crease. Making sure that this is going to be nice and secure, hopefully. I've never done anything like this, so I really don't know if this is going to be a fail or what. But we're going to give this a shot. And if anything, I'm out $1. No big deal. But I want to be pretty liberal with this stuff. Making sure it's going to tack up and stay together. Come together right now. And making sure it's in little pores. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this over onto itself. Pretty straightforward, huh? Make sure I still have ample space here. Cool. Now I'm going to do that to the other one. I'm going to put some weight on this And then I'm going to give it time to dry. I'm going to go get something to eat downtown. Now that, my friends, was a super yummy sandwich. Yeah, you know what? Here's a little bit of here's a fun fact for you. Across the street from where I was is a place called Melrose House of Pizza. Been around since the early 70s. I've been going there since I was a kid. Love his sandwiches. His pizza's really good too. But across the street's this really old bank. It's now a TD bank. But do you remember the movie The Town with Ben Affleck about the Charlestown bank robbers or whatever? Well, they filmed the opening robbery scene, the interior shots, in a bank across the street from that location. Here's a picture for you to look at. Okay, cool. So, these have been sitting underneath a stack of books for about, I don't know, 2 hours. It feels like it's going to hold. I don't know. We'll see. Once I start cutting onto them, we'll find out at that point. So, what I'm going to do is I don't have any double-sided tape. So, I'm just going to ball up some tape underneath it and just kind of trim around it and see if it'll even just hold together. So, I got some tape on the back. I don't know how well that's going to work either. And let's just carefully start cutting this out. You know what? First thing I want to do is I want to punch the holes for the arms. I think that'll be the best to do. So let's get that. Oh, of course not. So, no, looks like I'm cutting it first. So let's... I want to do it perfect right now. Just get the basic outline. Okay. Alright, so I got a little trimming to do down there. Now let's see if I can't punch those holes. There we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to punch two side by side because the hands are pretty wide because they're in that open-handed position. So they are wider than they are short, if that makes any sense at all to you. Let me finish. There we go. We got that. So let me trim this up, clean it, and we'll put them on the figures and see what happens. Alright guys, so we got some good news and some bad news. Starting with the good, my template works just fine. It's about the right size and everything, so I know that works. So I made a few copies of this, because this one's pretty much junk now, to use in the future, which we're going to have to revisit this. Bad news is, the layers did not stay together for the most part. Maybe a spray glue would have worked better, and of course I ripped up here by accident. I was going to try to use some black marker to kind of hide that white seam, but you know what? I'm just going to leave them like that for now until I can come up with a better solution. But either way, at least we learned something. So don't buy that kind of material and think it's going to glue together. But my template does work, so we will revisit this. So guys, thank you as always so much for watching. Regardless if this was a fail or not, at least we learned something from it. At least I learned something from it. And I do need to trim the bottom of this cape too. But either way, I mean, I think that looks better than not having a cape at all. I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Go ahead and leave feedback. Thumbs up, thumbs down. All feedback to the Creep is positive. And until next time, take care, creep it real, and bye-bye. Name that riff.